What's up, guys? It's your boys Wokey back out with another Chris Watts video. And there are, if not hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of people out there that go through this case every single day. Before me and after me, it will continue. That Chris Watts case, why thousands are demanding it to be reopened. You won't believe the reasons. I want to take a look at this video because, one, you guys sent it to me, and it's from Dark Crime Stories, and I'd like to know what he thinks or what his part is on this case. So, with that being said, get comfortable, grab a chair. Don't forget to also subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting that white bar icon down at the bottom right. Hit that bell icon next to it. So when I do post videos like this one, you guys will get that little ring notification that I've posted that video. And then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, I thank you also very much for that love and support that you guys continuously show on my channel. I'm blessed to have every single one of you. And then show that same love over at Dark Crime Stories. Go check them out. Link is in the description. And if you don't want to watch with me, I highly understand. Just go over there, click the link, watch over at his video. But if you want to watch with me, let's get into it.
Do you think the Chris Watts case should be reopened?
Yes.
Because in 2025, that's exactly what thousands of people are demanding.
It's actually millions.
And not because they think he's completely innocent, but because they believe he didn't do it alone. Because parts of the story still don't make sense.
They don't.
Because things that should have been investigated weren't. And because the deeper you look, the more questions there are. So before you assume this case was fully solved, take a closer look at what's still unanswered. Why did he say, "I had to protect her"?
And I love when people come to my channel, the ones that hate me or hate Shanann, and they'll go like, Zawokey's coming up with the stupidest stuff. It's ridiculous. I'm not coming up with anything. I'm reacting. I'm literally saying what people have been saying for years. I just jumped on the bandwagon like a year and a half ago. People have been wanting this case open for years. I just jumped on it. I'm just trying to help the cause and bring out Miss Nicholkessinger to be questioned. So when people are like, Zawokey's copying content, I'm not. I'm literally reacting to people that are talking about the case. I've made my few videos that are my own when it comes to the Chris Watts, but a lot of it is commentary and reactions. And I just think it's funny that people are like, oh, he's making stuff up. I'm not. It's literally right in front of our faces.
Why were phone records deleted? Why was no polygraph ever given to the one person closest to him at the time? What if this case was closed? Not because it was complete, but because it was convenient? We're not here to retell what happened on August 13th, 2018. No. We're here to examine why, 6 years later, the case is still alive in court.
Actually 7, but okay.
Filings, online petitions, and sealed documents that have never been fully addressed.
The girls' autopsies were sealed for 50 years. We're 43 years in. Why? I made a video about that 2 days ago. Check it out.
You think Chris Watts acted alone? Because some people don't.
Oh, yes.
And they're no longer just talking.
Wait.
They're demanding.
No, he did not act alone. That's a tongue twister.
Action. Let's take a look at why. Welcome to Dark Crime Stories. Thanks for subscribing and supporting us. Get ready for chilling true crime tales. Hit that subscribe button.
Do it.
Just for a moment before we jump to the main reason why many are championing the reopening of the Chris Watts case, let's briefly bring to your mind the story.
As they've said, and like I said, the Chris Watts case is over, but the Nicholkessinger case is just getting ready to be open.
That shocked the nation. In August 2018, Chris Watts confessed to killing his pregnant wife, Shanann, and their 2 daughters, Bella and Celeste.
Not right away, though.
By November 6th of that same year, he pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 5 life terms without parole.
4 life terms with 45 years of disposure and execution of what was it? The termination of a pregnancy, I think it was.
Bodies were found at an oil site, his workplace, Shanann buried in a shallow grave.
Chris parked right here. Let me get my circle up here. Bill, where is it? Red circle, red circle. There it is. Okay. So this is where Chris parked his truck. This is where Shanann was buried. But this is where the truck was when people said that they showed up and so forth. That's where it was at. So I just thought I'd let you know for those that might not know.
Girls placed inside separate crude oil tanks. On paper, the case seemed resolved. He confessed. He was sentenced. Life moved on. But what most people didn't know then was that there would be more questioning than verdict. Behind the headlines, there were gaps. Details that didn't add up. Timelines that raised eyebrows. And behaviors that just didn't match the crime. And that's why, even now, petitions are growing louder, not quieter. In January 2024,
there's like, I think I've seen on different websites and different petitions, if you put them all together, there's like 45 different petitions of NK being looked at with like accumulation of like 100K signatures on different platforms. It's ridiculous.
A new petition began making rounds online, one that wasn't asking for a retrial or a reduced sentence, but something very specific. It demanded a reinvestigation into the role of Nicholkessinger, the woman Chris Watts was having an affair with at the time of the murders.
Say it, man.
The petition quickly gained traction, amassing over 5,700 verified signatures on change.org within just a few weeks. It wasn't filled with emotional pleas or speculative drama. The wording was precise. Statements like evidence was ignored, phone data erased, and confessions changed multiple times echoed throughout the document, each line pointing to parts of the original investigation that some believe were either rushed or selectively handled.
And then there's people that say, well, you shut up about the Watts case. It's done. It's over with. Get on and move over. Or get on with yourself. Like, are you kidding? It's right here. Would you say that if it was your kids or your family or your spouse, your daughter, whatever have you? Would you let it go? No.
Another petition, this one hosted on care2.com, took a different angle, but followed the same concern. It called for Kessinger to undergo a formal polygraph test.
Yes!
That petition has gathered around 800 signatures and continues to circulate among true crime forums and watchdog groups. The focus of both efforts isn't to shift blame away from Chris Watts.
I literally said, I will pay for the test. I will pay for her to be questioned. I will sell my stuff in here to have her investigated properly. That's how determined I am to find out if she's innocent or guilty. And we know which one she is.
He confessed, and he's serving multiple life sentences. But the concern...
Yeah, and getting married. How justice is that?
Repeatedly raised by petitioners is whether the entire story ever truly made it into the courtroom. And
no,
more
it didn't.
importantly, whether someone else, either knowingly or passively...
The whole story was told by D.A. Rourke. Again, I'm not a professional. I don't know law. I didn't go to Harvard or learn all that stuff. But I have common sense, I feel. And we all, the thousands, if not millions of people, can see that this woman was involved in some shape or form. We just don't know how deep she was involved.
Escaped legal questioning altogether. The petitions are supported by people from all over the country, some former...
all over the world in some cases.
Law enforcement, others family advocates, many everyday observers who followed the case from the beginning. Their argument isn't built on fantasy. It rests on a set of consistent, documented facts that were either overlooked or dismissed early on. For example, the erasure of Kessinger's phone history prior to her first interview, or the fact that her digital behavior in the days leading up to the murders included web searches about changing her name and researching high-profile mistresses. Details like those weren't fabricated. They were pulled directly from discovery files, confirmed by law enforcement, and later included in open records requests. Yet despite their existence, none of those details resulted in formal charges or even a follow-up.
And literally the stepsister video that I made a couple days ago too, that one, which I and 100, if not thousands of people say the same thing, that it was NK. The sister literally states that NK was driving by the house the morning of the murders. That's why her phone pinged there. But she was doing it because she was watching Chris, seeing if he was actually telling the truth about being with his wife and all that stuff. That I was like, this is complete bull crap. Like, what? So you're telling me she's getting jealous because Chris is in a marriage and she's the mistress, but she's getting jealous because of the wife. How does that make sense?
Interview under oath. Another notable report.
Just because you put your hand on the oath doesn't mean that everybody abides by it. There are people that love to lie.
Was that Nicholkessinger was never asked to take a polygraph. According to law enforcement transcripts, she voluntarily came forward when she saw news coverage. But by then, she had already deleted her text messages, cleared her browser history, and removed communication records involving Chris. She told investigators she didn't know Shanann was pregnant, even though phone logs
That's a lie.
showed she'd Googled Shanann's name before. That in itself raised concern. But even more troubling were her search patterns. Wedding dresses, changing her name, and financial searches related to Amber Frey, the former mistress from the Scott Peterson case.
That actually didn't know Scott was married.
And all of it happened before Shanann and her daughters were ever reported missing. Supporters of the petitions stress this isn't about chasing conspiracies. They say it's about closure, about the need to confront parts of the investigation that were never addressed in full.
Amen, brother.
Many argue that if Chris Watts was capable of manipulating those around him for months before the murders, it's not unreasonable to consider that others may have been misled too, or possibly protected. These people aren't asking for verdicts to be overturned. They're asking for questions that were never answered to finally be asked.
We're not asking to bring Chris Watts in and open the whole case. We're asking, which I've seen on, there's just this case I was watching not even 20 minutes ago. It was a guy that was on a farm. He was talking big about how much money he got from his grandparents. And he kept talking about it, and somehow he went missing. Case went dark. Case went cold. It literally was pretty much almost closed because they couldn't find it. But somebody kept digging and kept digging and kept digging. And what was it, 15 years later, they finally got the murderer. It took forever, but I can't remember the case. I'll have to bring up that case. Maybe I can share with you guys. But it was a YouTuber that kept diving down this case, and he's the one that solved it. I'm not wanting to be like, what's it called? Publicly stated that, oh, Zawolki solved it. No, that's not what I want. Because there are people that have been saying this stuff for years, okay? So it's not just me, it's hundreds, if not thousands of us YouTubers that are going down this dark rabbit hole. I'm not the only one, okay? If you type in Chris Watts, I think the last time I saw it, there was 2.7 thousand channels that talk about Chris Watts. 2.7 thousand. Not just Zawolki, there are others. So I'm not taking, what's it called? Claiming the benefits that we got Nicholkessinger. No, I'm just repetitively doing it that hopefully, fingers crossed, it will actually open. Or not Chris Watts case opening, but the Nicholkessinger case being open.
Because to them, justice doesn't stop at one person's confession. It continues until every piece of the story is accounted for.
Yes.
So what's actually fueling these suspicions? Theories, yes, but they're not based on hunches. They're rooted in documented behavior, official timelines,
facts, redactions, how many the vast or how do you say it, redactions that were taken out of the discovery, the facts that we've seen, the phone call, the deletion of messages, the people that she was possibly talking to, involved with, the secret place that she had, the friends that she doesn't want us to talk to, Jim and Charlotte. Like, I mean, I could continuously go on about all the stuff that we have found. And when I say we, content creators that have seen and found and brought to light.
Digital footprints and statements from the very man who committed the crimes. And that's where the focus begins to shift.
Yes.
From the confession to the inconsistencies that followed. There were no signs of a struggle inside the Watts family home. That's one of the first things that raised questions. For a crime that reportedly took place inside the house, 3 lives taken, including a pregnant woman, investigators found no blood, no visible injuries to Chris Watts, and no evidence of physical confrontation. The bedding was intact. The children's rooms were undisturbed. Shanann's suitcase from her work trip was still by the stairs, unopened.
If there was a ratio of people that want the case looked at because of NK to the people that think she's innocent, it would literally be a 9-to-1. 9 people believe that she's guilty. The 1% or the other 1 believes that she's innocent. That's how serious this is.
Kitchen counters were wiped clean. It looked like a home waiting for breakfast, not the scene of a multiple homicide.
It smelled like, it smelled like cleaning supplies, but it looked like an Airbnb, ready for the next family to move in or the next people to come in and live for a few days or what have you.
And yet, according to the official story, the murders had all occurred right there, before 5 a.m.
I don't think all of them were murdered in the house. The 2 girls were murdered at Survey 319.
Cadaver dogs brought into the home made multiple alerts. Reports show they signaled in the master bedroom, near the girls' bedrooms, and close to the basement. But what followed those alerts remains unclear. Some of the locations they indicated were never addressed again in the discovery files. No full explanation, no follow-up in the official reports, and no clarification on whether those areas were even processed for secondary evidence. For those who've studied homicide patterns, it's rare for multiple deaths to occur in confined spaces with no corresponding transfer evidence, no body fluids, no damaged furniture, no disruption to flooring, fabric, or surfaces. What adds more pressure to these questions is that Chris gave 4 different versions of the murders within the first 6 months of his arrest. His first confession suggested Shanann killed the girls, and he reacted. Then he said
he even said that Shanann was cheating. That's how low this man stood.
Killed Shanann in a rage. Later, he claimed he smothered the girls in the backseat of his truck on the way to the oil site. And in a separate written confession sent from prison, he wrote that he had previously attempted.
He didn't say smothered in the beginning. He said strangle. So that's why I believe that he didn't know how they died, because he said strangle first and then smothered. I can't remember what clip it was, but he did say strangled.
To kill Shanann by giving her OxyContin, trying to cause a miscarriage.
80 milligrams.
For investigators and analysts, changing details like this are not unusual. What's unusual is the way those details shifted to fit whatever narrative Chris believed he was expected to confirm, rather than one he...
Oh, don't let me get started about the Trent Bolton. I've been talking about in the other videos. Trent Bolton was purposely placed so the eyes would come off of Nicole. Trent Bolton is Nicole's, or one of Nicole's friends that was just had the funeral for their mother. That friend is is cousins with Trent Bolton that lives in Colorado.
Initiated on his own. What's even more revealing are the statements he made in letters and conversations after the case was closed. I had to protect her. I couldn't let her go down for this. He never specified who her was.
Or we had the shovels, or his Jezebel strayed him afar.
At the time, Shanann was already gone. His mother had no legal exposure. So who was he trying to shield? The lack of clarity around that language continues to push questions into public view. Because even now, after 5 life sentences, it sounds like Chris Watts might still be holding back more than just the truth. For many, these questions go beyond curiosity.
He's literally said not only about the oxycodone, but other things that he will take to his grave because he's that embarrassed.
They represent the core of what may have been overlooked or ignored during the original investigation. If the crime was as clean and straightforward as the case files suggest, why are so many critical pieces still without answers? And if we're still asking these questions years later, then it's not just about what was missed. It's about what might have been deliberately left out.
Yes.
The oil tanks where Chris Watts admitted to placing the bodies of his 2 daughters were only 8 inches in diameter.
And why?
For anyone who has studied forensic body movement or physical trauma patterns, that detail alone raises concerns. The idea that he managed to lift, carry, and insert both girls into separate tanks in total darkness, without tools, without assistance, and without leaving any marks on his own body, doesn't align with basic principles of physical stress or post-mortem logistics. There's no sign of hesitation wounds on him,
Nothing.
no scratch marks, no strained muscles.
There's like a couple things on his neck, and I think there's like one thing on his arm. But other than that, it wasn't like anything that was sufficient enough to say, yeah, those are scratch marks or defensive wounds from somebody else.
Documented in his medical intake. And more than that, there were no disturbances around the tank openings, no scrape marks, no fibers.
They found a little bit of hair.
No disrupted terrain. It's one thing to confess to something. It's another for the physical scene to support the confession. In this case, it doesn't quite hold. Nicholkessinger's digital footprint is another part of the story that keeps getting pulled into scrutiny.
Oh, by the way, did I tell you about the 12,000 pictures that Chris had of NK? Obsessed much?
She came forward on her own. But when she did, her phone had already been scrubbed, deleted.
SIM card. I can't remember if they said it was destroyed or if she was trying to destroy it. But it said that.
Texts, wiped call history, a deleted browser log that investigators only partially...
There was an actual person the other day that wrote in my comments, they're like, oh, Nicole actually has a nice body. Looks are not everything, dude.
Recovered. That alone wasn't proof of wrongdoing, but the behavior that followed compounded the issue. In 2020, Kessinger filed to have her name legally changed. That petition was sealed.
But I have a 2023 signature of Nicole Kessinger with picture that says otherwise.
Meaning no public access to the records. And
but again, I can't show it because the person that took the picture wants me to keep it anonymous, or wants me to keep it hidden so that they don't get in danger.
Reason for the request has never been publicly disclosed. What's more, authorities never fully pulled metadata from her phone for the 48 hours leading up to Shanann's disappearance. Key timestamps were missing, and no secondary analysis was made available to the public. These are decisions that might seem minor, but to forensic investigators, gaps in digital timelines matter. Chris Watts' confessions didn't stay consistent. First, he claimed Shanann killed the children. Then, he admitted to killing her in retaliation. Then, in a prison interview, he stated he smothered all 3 himself. Later, in letters to a pen pal, he added that he had given Shanann OxyContin before the murders, possibly trying to force a miscarriage. Each version came with its own set of emotions, language, and timeline contradictions.
And lies.
It's one thing for someone to change their story under pressure. It's another when those changes seem tailored to fit what investigators are already assuming. In more than one letter, Chris wrote, "I didn't want her to go down for this." But he never clarified who her was. Shanann was already dead. His mother was never under investigation. That leaves one logical interpretation.
Nicole.
Someone he was protecting, and someone still alive. Inside the house, nothing matched the kind of violence he described. No fingerprints in unusual places. No blood. No signs of a struggle. The girls' bedrooms showed no signs of trauma. No evidence of forced movement. And while cadaver dogs did
Oh, they were in the washing machine and the dryer because he had cleaned them.
alert in specific locations, the bedrooms, the basement, those findings were never followed up in detail. In fact, some of the reports linked to those alerts were redacted or omitted entirely from the released discovery documents. It created a vacuum of accountability. If dogs signal the presence of a body, that area typically becomes a primary scene.
And they did nothing.
But here, it was noted and moved past.
Exactly.
Then there's the surveillance footage. The neighbor's camera, pointed toward the Watts driveway, recorded Chris backing his work truck into the garage at 5:17 a.m. and making multiple trips between the cab and the house. He claimed to have loaded all 3 bodies by himself during that time. Yet, his body language didn't show signs of physical exhaustion. He wasn't winded. He wasn't strained. Some analysts who reviewed the footage said he looked more like someone scanning the area, watching for something, or someone. The movements were cautious, methodical, and oddly...
Or they said that he looked at the camera. This man didn't even know the camera was even there. He forgot about it because when Nathan came over and said, hey, I got some recordings that you guys could use, he's like, I forgot. That's literally how, in his mind, is probably how he was acting.
Clean. Again, there was no dragging, no visible struggle, and no confirmation that the timeline fits with everything else we know. From a psychological perspective, Chris Watts doesn't match the typical profile of someone who commits this kind of crime. Most family annihilators fit into one of a few known categories: financial ruin, domestic abuse history, or impending custody battles.
Well, Nathan did say that he had a temper. Apparently he was yelling. He did say it was a little over the top of what he said, but he said he could still hear Chris at times yelling at Shanann.
None of those existed here. He had no history of violence, no signs of a mental health break. He didn't try to harm himself after the murders, and his background didn't suggest pre-existing rage or detachment. What some forensic psychologists have pointed to is something else: codependent submission, a type of personality that folds under pressure from a dominant influence. That influence could be romantic, emotional, or ideological.
He's the
In rare
submissive.
but documented cases, this dynamic is known as folie à deux, a shared psychosis between 2 people, where one drives the other into action.
Oh.
Chris's behavior in prison adds another layer. He stays quiet, follows rules, keeps to himself.
He's a good little
But
boy.
the letters he's written are flat.
No.
They avoid depth. They repeat apologies but offer
He literally has to Google how to feel, how to love, how to say when to say I love you. And his letters were quotes from songs.
little explanation. It's as if he's maintaining a narrative, not one rooted in clarity, but in preservation. And the question continues to surface: is he protecting someone on the outside? Whether it's loyalty, fear, or guilt, that answer hasn't been fully explored. These aren't assumptions. These are details left behind in files, behaviors that don't align, and gaps in official narratives that have yet to be closed. They haven't disappeared. If anything, they've multiplied, and they've led to something else, something louder, something that's made it harder to call this case finished. In 2023, Shanannwatts' family took legal action against a UK-based YouTuber who had spent years pushing false claims about the case. The content targeted their daughter, their grandchildren, and their grief, and it was monetized. The court ruled in their favor, acknowledging that what began as speculation had crossed into targeted harassment. But while that judgment addressed the emotional damage done to the family, it did not settle the lingering questions that fueled the theories in the first place. The ruling was clear about the abuse.
But those theories were actually bad ones. Like the Watts or the Ruseks had it out for their daughter. What? It's like, what? Like, oh, they wanted the insurance. They would rather have their daughter and their grandbabies here rather than do all that weird stuff that this person came up with.
But it made no comment on the evidence that continues to concern thousands of people who have followed the case from the beginning. In early 2025, a new wave of speculation took hold after a claim surfaced that Nicholkessinger was seen attending a funeral in Montana. The footage, taken from a live stream, was blurry and unconfirmed. But it didn't matter. For many watching
I confirmed it by using facial recognition software
online, just the possibility that she was out in public again triggered renewed demands for answers. The claim spread quickly, and even without verification, it gained traction. Some asked how someone with no formal charges and no confirmed witness protection status could simply disappear for years and then allegedly reappear without media follow-up. That moment reignited a conversation that had never really stopped. A growing number of people feel that the full truth behind the Watts case has been controlled, contained in a way that feels less like legal finality and more like institutional avoidance. Public trust in law enforcement transparency has taken repeated hits, and this case only deepened that divide. From the sealed records, to the lack of follow-up on cadaver dog alerts, to withheld portions of digital evidence.
I mean, literally, we just heard a interview where a female went to the actual, I can't remember if it was Frederick PD, but she went there with an interview to retrieve information, and she kept getting the ring around. Oh, they have it. They have it. No, they have it. No, they have it. Oh, they said that you had it. Like, that's all they kept doing to this girl and the reporter.
There's been a consistent feeling that too many pieces have been kept out of view. Not necessarily to protect Chris, but possibly to avoid relitigating something the system already put away. Online platforms have filled the space where official channels left off. Reddit threads have dissected the case frame by frame, with users cross-referencing timestamps and GPS data that never made it into mainstream reporting.
It's not just me.
On TikTok, creators have reposted parts of the original body cam footage alongside court transcripts, pointing out discrepancies others missed. True crime forums, some run by former detectives, have kept this case alive for years.
The professionals, the retirees, there are people that are doing that, and those are a lot of sometimes the videos that I watch, and they're like, oh, Zawoki's making stuff up. It's literally from the professionals that are saying it.
Often providing more detailed breakdowns than any single...
I've watched doctors, lawyers, judge, CSI, detectives, police officers. I've watched a lot of them.
...single agency has released publicly. While not every theory holds water, the persistence of these platforms shows one thing clearly. People don't believe they've been told everything. So what now? Is public pressure, social media interest, or renewed online suspicion enough to move the system? Is any of this enough to reopen a case legally? That question isn't just hanging. It's gaining weight. And it's one that no longer lives in the comments section alone. Legally speaking, the Chris Watts case is closed, at least as it pertains to him. Under the protection of double jeopardy, Chris cannot be retried for the same crime. He pleaded guilty in 2018, and unless his conviction is overturned, vacated, or a new crime altogether is discovered involving him, he remains off the table for future prosecution.
Which is fine.
That means no matter how many times his story changes, and no matter how much speculation surrounds his letters or behavior, the system cannot touch him again under current law. That's the part many people misunderstand. A confession can be expanded or contradicted, but if it doesn't result in new charges or a different crime altogether, it doesn't reopen anything.
But
where that legal boundary stops for Chris, it still leaves room for someone else. If a co-conspirator existed, if there was someone who knew before, helped during, or concealed evidence after, the door is not entirely closed. Colorado law allows for criminal cases to be reopened if new evidence or testimony is discovered that directly points to another party's involvement. That person could be named in a future indictment, even years later. But the word new in that context is everything. Recycled details from documents already processed, online speculation, or reinterpreted body language are not considered new evidence.
It's not.
The threshold is high, and it has to be factual, not just suspicious. Petitions, even those signed by thousands, carry no legal weight in a courtroom.
That's why I continuously say the ping, the deletion of messages, like all that stuff.
They may influence public awareness or media attention, but they do not initiate criminal procedure. Only a district attorney or a federal prosecutor has that authority. In this case, That would be the Weld County District Attorney's Office, or potentially the FBI if federal violations of obstruction, tampering, or interstate communication were suspected. But no action can begin without something solid, a statement under oath, a newly discovered digital file, or a forensic finding that wasn't previously submitted. And so far, none of those have surfaced.
That's why I keep looking. I keep hoping like somebody that's close to her says, "Hey, I got this." And it's something evidence, it's some picture, it's something that ties her to this.
In a form admissible in court. The people calling for a reinvestigation are not necessarily wrong in their concerns. There are indeed questions that weren't answered in trial. There are details that were never cross-examined. But the legal system doesn't operate on curiosity. It requires process. It requires hard proof. And unless that proof emerges, something that goes beyond a narrative, beyond doubt, and into documentation, the case, as it stands, remains sealed. So for those asking, can this case be reopened?
Possibly.
The answer is yes, but only for someone other than Chris, and only if the kind of evidence required by law enforcement actually materializes. Until then, what exists in the court of public opinion can't cross the threshold of legal consequence. And that line is what separates concern from prosecution.
And somebody is guarding it so it doesn't happen.
At the end of the day, this case is about 3 victims who can't speak for themselves: Shanann, Bella, and Celeste.
Nico.
Their lives were taken, their voices silenced, and the story that followed has never stopped evolving.
And that's what bothers me, is they had a voice. Yes, he might be the huge catalyst to it, but she was involved in some shape or form in either the decision-making, the idea of the crimes, helping him remove said people, or persuaded him into doing so. One of those things is what I feel that this woman did, and we just want her to be looked at. That's it. And I said I'd pay for it.
If there's even a chance that more people were involved or that something critical was overlooked.
Honestly, I don't think there was anybody else involved besides NK. And if there was anybody involved, it was either Jim as like a lookout or a secondary hoe bunny for her. If I can I say that on YouTube? Well, I'll say it the misspelled way. Like the hoe that you would take out with your gardening, as you will, but you guys know what I mean. So
then the question becomes less about what we already know and more about what we've been told to accept. Justice isn't just about conviction. It's about getting it right.
The first
and if something still doesn't add up, don't the victims deserve another look?
Yes.
Do you believe Chris Watts acted alone? Or do you think someone helped him plan it, cover it, or walk away from it?
Yes.
The conversation doesn't end with this video. It continues with you. We want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below, whether you agree, disagree, or still have questions.
I've seen only agree.
I will be reading every one of them. And make no mistake, others are watching too. People still looking for clarity, still hoping for accountability. If this video gave you a new perspective,
and I guarantee NK is watching every single video that's on her. I guarantee it. She's probably watching this right now, wanting to punch her screen, wanting to call out to dad or something. I don't know. But she is watching. I guarantee it. If she was willing to Google Shanann, Chris, wedding dresses, butt stuff, paint for her car, she's watching herself. She wants to know who's talking about her. She did it back in the day. You think she's not going to do it now? We just have more accessibility now that I would say I'm on my phone now, probably more than I am my computer, because my phone is like a walking computer. So you can't tell me this woman is not Googling and watching and lurking in people's lives and their videos and the Reddit posts and so forth, or she's under a different alias by talking about herself, aka my stepsister, Katie, but it's actually her. So again, like he said, make your reports, make your comments, make your theories, keep them positive, not disrespectful. I want to make that very clear. And the haters are like, Smokey deletes comments. It's my channel. If I find something offensive, wrong, nasty, grotesque, disgusting, I'm going to remove it. That's my right as a content creator on my channel. I will remove your crap. Like yesterday's trash. Again, thank you guys for being here. Please take care. Be safe. As always, keep nerding on, and we will see you guys in the next video. Peace.